What if you spent years mastering the world's hardest game, only to wake up inside it as the weakest, most useless character? A boy fated to die before the story even begins. This is the tale of someone trapped inside the virtual reality game Fantasy Defense, reborn as a background character named Kyle Salterian. On paper, Kyle's life looks flawless. He's the youngest son of the prestigious Salterian Marquis, descendants of legendary swordsmen, a family whose crest alone commands fear and respect. As one of them, Kyle stands right in the middle of a pivotal event at the start of the game. But when that crucial moment arrives, his part is over in an instant. Kyle doesn't get a heroic battle. He doesn't even land a single strike. Instead, he's swatted down by a low-level monster in one hit, nothing more than a disposable pawn used by the villains. His story ends before it even begins. A character designed to be forgotten. And yet, when a boy stares into a mirror, his face drained of all color, one terrifying truth dawns on him. That worthless character is him. Shock paralyzes his thoughts. Desperation claws at him as he pinches his cheek, praying this nightmare will vanish. But the sharp sting burns his skin. The pain is real. His heart races, panic seizes his chest. If it hurts, this can't be a dream. This is reality. His new reality. He can only stare at his reflection as the crushing weight settles in. How could this happen? Because the boy inside Kyle's body isn't just anyone. He's Lee Hyam-woo, the #1 ranked player in Fantasy Defense. The name of the game alone floods his mind with memories. Released back in 2030, Fantasy Defense was a phenomenon. A brutal virtual reality title infamous for its insane difficulty. In 10 years, not a single player had ever cleared it. But that impossibility only made it more addictive, fueling fierce competition across the globe. Every rare quest, every powerful item was a step up the rankings. And for 10 long years, Lee Hyam-woo lived and breathed it. He uncovered every secret, every hidden magic circle, every legendary crafting recipe. His score was untouchable. He wasn't just another player, he was a living legend. The one and only global ranker. But the sharp gasp that escapes his lips drags him back to the cruel present. His body collapses onto the bed. Hopelessness smothers him. To be stuck inside Kyle Salterian's frail body, it's the worst possible fate. He knows this scenario better than anyone. Even the game's chosen protagonist, with every advantage, could never overcome it. So how could he, trapped as a doomed extra, possibly survive? The one who unleashes the forces of darkness isn't some stranger. It's Kyle's own older brother, Adolf Salterian. Adolf rises in rebellion, turning against the family to seize power. His revolt succeeds, and the Salterian estate is consumed by the armies of darkness. The once mighty territory collapses into ruins, its knights and nobles left dead where they fall. And in the middle of that destruction, the powerless Kyle meets his end, cut down without significance. Lying there in silence, a single thought surfaces. What if he simply escapes? What if he runs before the rebellion begins? But as his gaze drops to his weak, trembling hand, reality interrupts. This body is already sick. It carries a rare and incurable disease known as Haru. Haru blocks the body's mana channels completely. The energy that fuels swordsmen, empowers magicians, and sustains even the most basic functions of life simply cannot flow. Without it, the body withers. Most victims don't live past 20. The only cure requires absorbing mana directly from nature. But with blocked channels, that path is impossible. The diagnosis is absolute. A death sentence. The original Kyle learned this truth when he was young. From then on, his actions turned destructive. He broke valuables, lashed out at servants, and grew infamous as a disgrace to the Salterian name. In time, his father, the Marquis, put an end to it. He ordered Kyle to be locked away in a remote annex of the mansion. But isolation only pushed Kyle further. Alone in his confinement, he tore through his own belongings, shouting curses at anyone he believed had slighted him. "Just die already." That was the only phrase that lingered on his lips. Now, standing in Kyle's place, Lee Hyam-woo analyzes the situation as if it were part of the game. The conclusion is simple. This boy was a dead end. Even back when he was just a player, he had thought the same thing. Kyle Celterion was unsalvageable. Glancing around at the wreckage left behind by Kyle's tantrums, he feels no sense of loss. What matters now is not the past, but survival. Kyle's situation is as bad as it gets. Youngest son of a collapsing family. No talent. Stricken with a fatal illness. A disgrace with a rotten reputation. And right now, confined to his room by order of his own father. As the whole picture sinks in, he grabs his head in despair. No matter how he looks at it, he's finished. If he stays, the rebellion will kill him. If he runs, the disease will kill him. It's a complete dead end. With stats this awful, how could anyone possibly survive? He shouts into the empty room, his voice filled with frustration. Shouldn't I at least get some kind of cheatability in this situation? His thoughts race. Just give me something. Anything. A status window. And as if answering his desperate plea, a burst of brilliant blue light suddenly whirls into existence around him. Startled, he stares at the glowing orbs floating in the air. Slowly, cautiously, he reaches out. His fingers brush against the light. And in an instant, a dazzling flash erupts from his palm. Then, the familiar sight appears. System messages. Just like in the game. Awakening complete. 2 new talents acquired. Status window unlocked. The notifications keep rolling in. Insight ability detected. Insight activated automatically. And there it is, hovering in front of him. The status window. A flicker of hope sparks inside his chest. The despair he felt only moments ago fades, replaced with the sharp confidence of a gamer who's seen this screen 1,000 times. All right, he mutters. Let's see what we're working with. He scans the stats. Name, Kyle Celterion. Age, 13. But the list of traits is brutal. Body without a pathway. Alcoholic. Weak mind. Then his eyes freeze on something new under talents. Right beside Mind's Eye Insight sits an ability he's never once seen before, Mana Pathways. He knows all about Mind's Eye, the ability to detect intricate details. But Mana Pathways? In his entire decade of playing fantasy defense, not once has that name ever appeared. From the title, it's clearly tied to mana. But in the game, the strongest magic-related ability is supposed to be Mana's companion. That's the top-tier gold standard. And yet, his instincts, sharpened by 10 relentless years as the global ranker, are telling him something different. His gut screams that this new ability might surpass even that. A hidden talent. A top-tier skill no one else has ever unlocked. His lips curl into a determined grin. With power like this, survival might not be impossible after all. He focuses, testing it. The moment he does, a swirl of raw mana gathers into his palm, condensing into a glowing orb of energy. It surges up his arm, flowing through him with a force he's never felt before. His heart pounds with certainty. This isn't just strong. This is something on an entirely different level. This talent isn't just powerful, it's unprecedented. He clenches his fist, a flame of determination burning within. And he knows why he's so sure. Even with Mana's companion, the strongest ability in the game, he had never once done this. What he sees now isn't some illusion of mana, it's the raw energy itself, visible and tangible before his eyes. His focus sharpens. If he can absorb this properly, then maybe, just maybe, he can make the impossible happen. A surge of hope floods him. For the first time, there's a path forward. He concentrates, channeling everything into his arm. The energy pushes against the blockage. Resistance fights back, but he doesn't falter. With sheer will, he forces the wild mana to obey, molding it into a razor-sharp drill. Move, he commands silently. Break through. The drill of condensed mana slams into the obstruction that has plagued this body for years. It's do or die, one final, desperate push. And then, with an explosive burst, the barrier crumbles. A new path opens where only death had once waited. Mana flows. It's faint, reaching only as far as his elbow, but it's there. For the very first time, energy courses through him. A tired smile creeps across his face. It worked. If he keeps pushing, he can carve open the rest of his body. He clenches his fist again, this time with triumph. Relief and joy wash over him, chasing away every trace of despair. He can overcome the disease. He won't die. For the first time, the words ring true. Meanwhile, life in the Marquis' grand estate continues as usual. In the kitchen, a tray carrying a simple meal is placed on the counter. A young maid with long dark hair and striking amber eyes sets it down carefully. "It's ready," she whispers to herself. But before she can move, another maid steps in front of her, arms crossed. "Wait, Ursule," she snaps. "Don't take that to Lord Kyle." Ursule pauses, puzzled. The older maid explains with a smug smile. They've all agreed to stop serving him, punishment for his awful behavior. Maybe after going hungry for a few days, he'll finally learn his place. "Put that soup down," the maid orders firmly, her tone sharp. Ursule meets her gaze, expression unreadable. "Yeah? That's what you think," she answers flatly. Her tone stays completely flat. After a pause, she adds quietly, "You can do whatever you want. I'm going to do my job." The room falls silent. The other maids freeze at her calm defiance. The lead maid's expression twists with fury. "Hey! Do you think you're the only one who gets to act noble?" With a sharp swipe, she smashes the tray from Ursule's hands. Hot soup splatters across the stone floor, bread scattering into the mess. Ursule's eyes widen in shock, but before she can react, the other maid leans down with a sneer. "Still think you're some kind of noble?" Her voice drips with venom. "Don't forget who you are. A girl from a ruined family, sold off as a slave. Don't you dare act so high and mighty." Her words cut deep, but Ursule doesn't rise to them. Instead, she turns silently, kneels, and begins cleaning the floor. Each motion steady, calm, deliberate. As if the insults mean nothing at all. The bully's fists tighten. "She's ignoring us." Her anger boils over. With a scream, she raises her hand to strike down. But before the blow can land, a sharp voice interrupts. "What is the meaning of this?" The room goes still. A tall knight with golden hair grips the maid's wrist firmly, stopping her mid-swing. The bully's face drains of color. Her voice cracks as she stammers, "Sir Leonhardt." The kitchen fills with stunned whispers. What would a respected knight like Sir Leonhardt be doing down here? He glances at the spilled food on the ground, his tone dropping dangerously low. Was that meal meant for Lord Kyle? The answer is obvious. His eyes narrow as he puts it together, the delay, the mess, the bullying. Turning to Ursule, his voice softens. "Prepare it again. Then take it to him. Quickly." She looks up, surprised by his intervention, but nods without hesitation. "Yes, sir." The other maids say nothing. Their earlier arrogance shrinks into bitter silence as Ursule carries the fresh tray out of the kitchen. Leonhardt watches her leave, his expression unreadable, though faintly troubled. Back in his room, Kyle is deep in thought. Two unique talents now rest at his disposal, insight and mana pathways. His eyes flicker toward the status screen as a plan takes shape. With these two abilities, and the memories of 10 years as the game's top player, he just might be able to alter this family's tragic fate. His knowledge of quests, events, and dangers is almost like seeing the future itself. Combine that with the wealth and influence of a Marquis household, and even the forces of darkness might not be unstoppable. A confident smile spreads across his face. "All right," he mutters. "I need to focus on 3 things. First, cure. The first goal is clear, fix his body. He needs to clear every mana channel and master magic. With his new ability tailored for mana, becoming a mage isn't just an option, it's the only path forward. Second, he must prevent the fall of the Celterian family. Their strength will be his strength. With their wealth, their knights, and their formidable reputation, they can serve as both shield and resource. Their estate sits far from the capital, away from the chaos of royal politics, making it the perfect stronghold against what's to come. And third, the most important task of all. He picks up a chess piece, eyes gleaming with strategy. Recruit talent. The invasion of darkness is only a few years away. To survive it, he'll need allies, hidden gems with untapped potential. With insight, he can uncover their abilities before anyone else and bring them to his side. strength for himself, power in his allies. Together, they'll be unstoppable. A faint smirk touches his lips. He already knows who to start with. Leonhardt, the knight who stood up for the maid in the kitchen. In the game, Leonhardt was a rock-solid tank, an invaluable ally in countless battles. Just as he's mapping out the future, a soft voice interrupts from outside his door. Lord Kyle. The door creaks open, and a worn shoe steps across the threshold. It's the maid from earlier, the one who carried his meal. She enters quietly, tray in hand. I've brought your food. Kyle's gaze follows her, his mind still piecing together strategies. A flicker of memory surfaces, the original Kyle's cruelty toward this same girl. Her name, what was it again? Ursule. The moment her name crosses his thoughts, a faint blue glow sparks in his vision. His insight talent has triggered on its own. System messages appear before his eyes. Scanning target essence. Status window generated. Information fills the air, and Kyle's mind blanks as he reads. It's not just his own stats. He can see hers. Name, Ursule. Age, 12. Talents, eternal friend of spirits. Household chores. Traits, cool-headed, diligent. Affection level, 30, neutral. But it's the first talent that shakes him. His jaw tightens, his eyes locking on the words. Eternal friend of spirits. One of the most powerful summoning talents in the entire game. A top-tier ability. Legendary. Ability. He just stares at her completely dumbfounded by the incredible discovery he's just made. Completely. Unaware of his internal crisis, she simply places the food on the table. Enjoy your meal, she says. He can only manage a stunned, "Oh, right. Thanks." She gives a small bow and quietly leaves the room, leaving him sitting there with his untouched food, his mind reeling. He watches her go, his expression turning sharp and intense. Why is a girl with the potential to be a genius spirit summoner working as a maid in a place like this? And then he remembers a memory from 1 year ago. An auctioneer stands on a stage calling out to a crowd of masked nobles. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. He flashes a slick smile. Today we have a very special item up for sale. Something you won't find anywhere else. He boasts to the eager crowd. We barely managed to acquire her ourselves. In the audience, the original Kyle sits with his arms crossed, looking completely bored. Now, the auctioneer proclaims, "Allow me to show you." A small, terrified girl is brought onto the stage. Her hands are bound in heavy iron shackles, presenting the third daughter of the fallen Baron Helheim. Family. The girl stands there, her eyes downcast, filled with despair. Ursule. The auctioneer announces. He praises her virtues to the leering nobles. As a former noble, she is well-mannered and intelligent. Now, let the bidding begin, he shouts. The offers start flying. 50 gold, 70 gold, 90 gold. Beside Kyle, a younger Leonhardt pleads with him. Lord Kyle, let's leave. Slave auctions are no place for you. But Kyle ignores him completely. He raises his hand and calls out a number that silences the entire room. 300 gold. Leonhardt turns to him. His face a mask of pure disbelief. Lord Kyle, the auctioneer is ecstatic. 300 gold. We have 300 gold. He calls for any higher bids, but no one dares to challenge the mayor's son. Leonhardt grabs Kyle's shoulder, whispering urgently, "Are you really buying a slave? What will your father say?" The original Kyle shoves him off violently. "Stop nagging me," he screams. "I'll spend my money how I want. Father doesn't care what I do anyway." Leonhardt can only watch, defeated, as his charge makes another terrible decision. With no other bids, the auctioneer slams his gavel. Sold for 300 gold. Lee Hyun Warseal is led over to the spoiled, angry boy who now owns her. Snapping back to the present, the new Kyle's eyes are sharp and filled with a cold, calculated purpose. The spoiled brat is long gone. In his place, is a master strategist who has just stumbled upon his first legendary tier ally. And only one thought echoes in his mind. You're mine. The memory continues. With a sharp crack, the heavy iron. With a sharp clatter, the heavy shackles binding the young girl's wrists fall away. A boy's voice cuts through the silence. You're free now. Ursiel's amber eyes widen in disbelief. Her entire world shifts in that moment. Kyle stands before her, hands clasped behind his back, his tone oddly serious. You're not a slave anymore. Because I bought you. Behind him, the knight Leonhardt remains silent, watching the scene unfold. Kyle continues, his expression unreadable. So you can go wherever you want. Her eyes, once dulled by despair, flicker with something new, shock, and the faintest spark of hope. She clutches her hands to her chest as she watches them turn to leave, his words echoing in her mind. Go wherever I want. She takes an unsteady step forward. But just now, she calls softly, you said I belong to you. Kyle turns back, his face impossible to read. She reaches out, fingers gently gripping the edge of his sleeve. It's a quiet plea, but also a firm decision. With newfound resolve shining in her eyes, she speaks. I'll follow you. For an instant, even Kyle looks surprised. But he quickly scoffs, brushing it off. Do whatever you want, he mutters, walking away. The memory dissolves, and the present returns. The new Kyle sits in his room, deep in thought. Now he understands. That was the original Kyle's memory. That's why Ursiel stayed. He hadn't simply purchased her, he had freed her, after her noble family's fall left her bound for slavery. She had endured more than most children ever could. Kyle realizes just how deeply he's merged with this body. The memory felt vivid, the emotions real, so real that he could feel the bond the original Kyle held with her. Both of them had been abandoned, stripped of control over their lives. That shared pain had tied them together. He takes a spoonful of the soup Ursiel prepared, and his eyes widen in surprise. It's good. Really good. Glancing at her by the door, he asks, did you make this? She flinches, startled by the question. Yes, is something wrong? She replies timidly, bracing herself for a complaint. But instead, he smiles brightly, his voice warm. It's delicious. You're a great cook. Make it for me again next time, okay? Her breath catches. She just stares, stunned by the sudden kindness. After a moment, she quietly answers, yes. A soft chime rings in the air. A system window appears. Affection increased, 35. Kyle raises an eyebrow. For their very first meeting, that's higher than he expected. Considering how much cruelty the original Kyle had put her through, it's a miracle there was any affection left at all. His expression hardens, thoughts turning serious. In all his years of playing fantasy defense, he never once encountered a character who possessed spirit mage talents. Her name is Ursiel. Kyle pieces it together, the reason her legendary talent never appeared in the game. She must have died during the family's rebellion, her gift buried before it could ever awaken. Not this time. He won't allow such rare potential to slip away. Ursiel, he calls out, stopping her just as she's about to leave. Have you ever thought about learning spirit magic? She turns back, eyes wide, completely puzzled. Spirit magic. Kyle nods confidently. Yeah. I think you might have a talent for it. Her hand grips the edge of her apron, her voice uncertain. I've never imagined I'd have any talent for something like that. He can guess why. Even as a noble's daughter, her family likely couldn't afford the costly tomes and rare tools required for spirit magic. For her, the opportunity had simply never existed. I'll handle that later, he decides. With a smile, he says, is that so? Well, you'd better start imagining it, because you're going to learn. She hesitates, opening her mouth to protest, but stops. She realizes she doesn't really have the option to refuse. Kyle steps closer, his voice firm but not unkind. Ursiel, you need to listen to me. Her eyes lift to his, caught off guard by the weight in his words. He presses a hand to his chest, his smile radiant with determination. Because you're my person now. For a moment, silence lingers between them, an unspoken understanding settling into place. Ursule clenches her fist over her heart, resolve hardening. A system chime echoes. Affection increased, 50. Yes, she replies, steady and clear. A few days later, Kyle, dressed sharply in his formal attire, looks ready for battle. Across from him, his knight Leonhardt blocks the doorway, standing like an immovable wall. Move. I'm going outside, Kyle demands. Leonhardt's reply is calm and resolute. You can't. Kyle grits his teeth, forcing himself to mimic the spoiled brat's tantrums. I haven't been outside in days. Am I supposed to stay locked up forever? But Leonhardt doesn't budge. You are not permitted to leave until the master allows it. Did you forget his order? Kyle's act collapses. The truth slams back into him. The original Kyle had been such a disaster that his own father, the Marquis, had confined him here. He's trapped. And worse, time is slipping away. He needs more mana to clear his illness. But the faint traces in this room aren't nearly enough. Ever since unlocking his new ability, ever since awakening his talent, Kyle has absorbed every shred of mana drifting through his room. It isn't enough for another breakthrough like the first day, but little by little, the energy stacks inside him, like experience points in a game. Because of it, his condition is improving. His body isn't as frail, his steps not quite as weak. But this small progress is nowhere near enough to cure his illness. For that, he needs more mana. And to get more mana, he needs to go outside. This time, he tries a different approach. Plastering on a bright, pleading smile, he says, I just need a short walk. For exercise. I won't go far, I swear. Leonhardt eyes him with flat skepticism. Exercise? He repeats dryly. That's the first time I've ever heard you use such a constructive reason to go outside. Kyle fumes silently. What kind of person does he think I am? Then it clicks. After years of being Kyle's bodyguard, Leonhardt doesn't believe a single word he says. His credibility is at rock bottom. Kyle grimaces. This guy is a wall. Impossible. He studies Leonhardt more carefully. In the game, this knight wasn't just a babysitter. He was famous, an outstanding character with high defense, solid offense, and loyalty that made him a fan favorite. With enough training, he could rise to the rank of captain. After the Celterian family's downfall, players could recruit him as a wandering knight, a tank who would never betray them. But right now, before the rebellion, he's stuck here, wasting his potential guarding a delinquent. Kyle exhales sharply and drops the act. Why are you even here? The words slip out before he realizes. Leonhardt flinches, stunned. His face pales, and a heavy aura settles around him. Do you have a problem with me being your bodyguard? He asks, voice dangerously low. A system alert flashes before Kyle's eyes. Affection decreased. Current value, -60. His stomach drops. No, no, no. Not that. He waves his hands frantically. Wait, it's not like that. I mean you're too talented for this job, you idiot. Leonhardt just stares at him in silence. Kyle groans inwardly, giving up on explanations. He changes tactics. All right, fine. I'll do as the master ordered, he mutters. And then, realization hits him. Leonhardt's loyalty isn't to him at all. It's to the master of the house, Celterian, Kyle's father. Kyle smirks wryly. Of course. Who in their right mind would be loyal to a delinquent like me? But deep down, he knows one thing for certain. He can't let it stay that way. He locks eyes with Leonhardt. Leonhardt, you have to convince my father. Leonhardt studies him in silence, unsettled. Something about Kyle feels different today. What? Leonhardt finally asks, baffled by the sudden demand. But Kyle's plan is already in motion. Once I set my sights on you, you're mine, Leonhardt. He stands tall, confidence radiating from him. You'll help me, won't you? My second recruitment project is you. With a bright, unwavering smile, Kyle makes his declaration. Talent Recruitment Project, Part 2, Leonhardt. The knight can only stare back, completely taken off guard. What? Kyle presses forward, cheerful and insistent. You're going to help me, right? Leon Hart's suspicion deepens. This attitude is nothing like the Lord Kyle he knows. Lord Kyle, Leon Hart mutters, his tone heavy. What exactly are you plotting? Kyle tilts his head, feigning innocence. Plotting? What do you mean? You really don't trust me? He continues, almost casually. I've just been locked away for so long, my thoughts started to change. Leon Hart frowns. Your thoughts have changed? Kyle's expression hardens, his voice calm but resolute. He looks Leon Hart straight in the eye and says, with absolute conviction. Yes. I've decided, I want to live a long life. The words freeze Leon Hart in shock. Want to live longer? This was the same Lord Kyle who had given up everything, a boy doomed by an incurable illness. He wasn't expected to survive past 20. No talent in magic. No skill with a sword. No right to inherit. By all accounts, a boy with no future. Leon Hart's mind drifts back to a memory. He had once stood before Marquis Rempton Sen. The Marquis had looked at him and said, I want you to stay by his side. Do you resent me for this? Leon Hart had paused, then answered firmly. It is an honor to protect a direct descendant of the Marquis family. I will serve faithfully. The Marquis's eyes flickered with satisfaction. In heart, you are a man of loyalty. That is why I entrust Kyle to you. The weight of that trust had pressed down on Leon Hart. The Marquis's words were final. In this household, there is no one else I can depend on to protect him. Only you. Guard him well. Leon Hart had bowed, his vow unwavering. I will obey, my lord. Snapping back to the moment, Kyle pushes on. If I want to live a long life, I need to stay healthy, right? That means I have to exercise outside. Just tell father that, he'll understand. He leans in close to Leon Hart, brimming with restless energy. So it's fine if I go out, right? Right. Leon Hart calmly raises a hand, pressing it against Kyle's face to stop him. You can train just as well indoors, he replies, his patience thinning. Kyle's playful act falls flat. He clenches his teeth in frustration, then his voice drops, cold, firm, commanding. Move. Don't make me say it again. His eyes gleam with an intensity Leon Hart has never witnessed before. I need to go outside. I need to find more mana. The air between them grows heavy, tension pressing down like a blade at their throats. Leon Hart stands his ground, stunned by the aura radiating from Kyle, but unmoving. The Marquis's order is absolute, he declares. That applies to you as well, Lord Kyle. A dangerous pressure unfurls around him, sharp and suffocating. His voice drops, deadly serious. If you truly wish to step outside, then you'll have to get past me first. Kyle staggers back under the crushing weight. This is killing intent. He can hardly believe it. This knight would release such power on a child just to keep him indoors. If he were an ordinary 13-year-old, he'd be trembling on the ground, paralyzed with fear. But Kyle is no ordinary boy. A grin breaks across his face. You'd better keep your word, Leon Hart. Of course, Leon Hart answers firmly. But before he can act, Kyle's will flares. In an instant, he shatters the pressure, slipping past Leon Hart with ease. A moment later, he's already at the doorway, unharmed. He turns back with a triumphant smile. Looks like I got past you. And then, he steps outside. The cool night air washes over him, and he draws in a deep breath. It feels unbelievably fresh. Stretching his arms wide, he laughs in pure exhilaration. How long has it been since I was last outside? Leon Hart can only watch, completely stunned. Even though it's just the garden, the freedom feels incredible. Kyle tilts his head toward the sky, marveling. Was it always this beautiful? But then his eyes catch something even more breathtaking, tiny specks of mana drifting in the air, glowing like stardust. I'll take them all, he declares, dashing across the garden to absorb every particle he can. Leon Hart stands frozen, unable to believe what he's seeing. Just moments ago, Kyle had fought with such intensity, and now, he's running around like an excited child. Leon Hart can hardly process what just happened. That moment when Kyle slipped past him, how? How was that even possible? Lord Kyle had never trained in mana or aura. By all logic, he shouldn't have been able to withstand that level of pressure. Out in the garden, Kyle calmly gathers mana into his hand, while Leonhardt remains frozen, shaken to his core. Kyle glances back with a faint smile. Leonhardt's shock is written all over him, and truthfully, he has every reason to be stunned. The truth is simple. Physically, Kyle is just a 13-year-old boy who has never set foot on a battlefield. But mentally, he's a veteran. For 10 long years, he lived inside a virtual reality game renowned for its brutal realism. He's endured countless life-or-death struggles. He's fought through swarms of monstrous creatures, waded through fields of corpses, and been drenched in the blood of his enemies. To him, fear and violence are nothing new. So when faced with killing intent, that was nothing more than child's play. Kyle clenches the energy in his hand. This should be enough. With this, he can open more mana channels. Coming outside was absolutely the right choice. Later that night, Leonhardt stands before Kyle, bowing his head low. I will request punishment from the Marquis for my actions. Kyle blinks in surprise. What? Leonhardt explains without hesitation. Even if I was following orders, it was wrong of me to direct killing intent toward the one I serve. Kyle tilts his head, then a clever smile tugs at his lips. That won't be necessary. But if you insist on telling my father, make sure you add this as well. In his office, the Marquis listens to Leonhardt's report. He raises his brows, disbelief in his voice. Kyle asked that you not be punished? Am I truly to believe that? Yes, my lord, Leonhardt answers firmly. My words are true. The Marquis leans back, eyes narrowing. It isn't that I think you're lying, but... Leonhardt lowers his head. I understand, my lord. I hardly believed it myself. But when Lord Kyle calmly endured my killing intent, I questioned everything I knew. The Marquis leans forward, intrigue gleaming in his eyes. For him to withstand the pressure of a knight of your caliber, what did he do afterward? In the garden? Leonhardt exhales slowly, recalling the sight as though it was still before him. The night air was thick with mana particles. He sat there, meditating, calmly drawing it all in. He looked utterly at peace. The Marquis's expression tightens. Shock mixes with fascination as he tries to make sense of what he's hearing. And under the glow of the moon, Kyle sits alone in the garden gazebo. His posture is steady, his breathing controlled, as he draws in the dense mana of the night air. Leonhardt stands nearby, silent and watchful. After a long pause, he finally breaks the stillness. You know how? As Kyle meditates, Leonhardt finally speaks. You know how to meditate. Kyle cracks one eye open, offering a casual, believable answer. When I was younger, father taught me some swordsmanship. I picked up meditation then. He shrugs lightly. Of course, I quit soon after. I had no talent for it. Leonhardt listens quietly. The explanation fits, but it doesn't explain the drastic change in the boy before him. Anyway, Kyle says, closing his eyes once more. While I'm meditating, make sure no one comes near. It'll ruin my focus. Understood, Leonhardt replies. And so he stands guard, watching in silence as Kyle remains perfectly still, for 6 straight hours. Later, inside the Marquis's office, Leonhardt delivers his report. 6 hours? The Marquis's eyes widen in disbelief. You don't mean 6 seconds? No, my lord, Leonhardt confirms. 6 hours. The Marquis scoffs, stroking his chin. That kid? Are we even talking about the same son of mine? But as he sits back, his expression softens, his thoughts pulled into the past. He remembers it clearly, trying to teach young Kyle the sword, as was expected of any son of the Celterian family. More than expectation, it had been hope. Hope that through strength, Kyle might one day overcome his fatal illness. But the boy had collapsed almost immediately, the sound of a wooden sword clattering to the ground echoing in his ears. Father, I can't, the small boy had gasped, sinking to his knees. My legs, they won't move. The Marquis had stood over him, disappointment heavy in his chest. There has never been such a weak descendant in our family, he had barked, anger boiling over. And then, he had turned and walked away, leaving the defeated child kneeling alone on the training ground. Kyle had no talent, no willpower, no patience. He couldn't even endure basic training. And yet now, that same boy had meditated for 6 hours without moving an inch. The Marquis mutters under his breath, almost incredulous. Did he hit his head? Can someone really change so much, so quickly? Leonhardt bows. I checked his meals for anything unusual. There was nothing. But it isn't only his newfound resolve. Even the way he looks at me feels entirely different. The Marquis leans back in thought. Then, after a moment, he nods. Well, if the boy is finally beginning to mature, I suppose that's not a bad thing. His decision is made. Leonhardt, I will overlook this incident. But continue to watch over Kyle closely. Understood, Leonhardt answers. Back in his room, Kyle is surrounded by a glowing blue aura. After 6 relentless hours of meditation, mana surges through him like never before. He channels it across his body, and suddenly, a system window opens before him. Mana is overflowing. Skill, sharp perception has advanced. Your eyes can now assess your body's condition with precision. Kyle smirks. Good. Before him, a holographic model of his own body takes shape. I'll break through every single mana channel. Kyle channels the powerful surge of mana through his body. He clears the pathways in his arms, pushes it through his shoulders, down his spine. Then, with one last overwhelming push, he directs it to the most vital point of all, his heart. A system notification flashes before him. The path to the heart has been cleared. Another follows immediately. Trait, blocked channels is weakening. A pulse of energy ripples through his body, transforming him from within. Kyle opens his eyes, a triumphant smile spreading across his face. Done. The difference is undeniable. He's cleared the path to his heart. For the first time, he can use magic. He tightens his fist, feeling the power thrumming in his veins. Well then, time to begin magic training. A faint image of a magic circle shimmers in his hand. He recalls the basics from the game. To cast magic in this world, a mage must form circles near their heart. The stronger the spell, the more circles required. But there's a price. The more circles you have, the longer it takes to cast. And in battle, when a dragon is bearing down on you with fire, you don't have the luxury of time. That's why children begin training early, usually between 5 and 8 years old. By 12, a child should form their first circle. At 13, Kyle is already late to the game, but he isn't just any child. His status window flashes. Unique talent, mana delay. His case is different. Now that his channels are clear all the way to his heart, he's ready. All he needs to do is form the circle. But how? He scratches his head. Should I just do it the way I did in the game? Just then, footsteps sound at his door. Lord Kyle, it's Leonhardt. Kyle's eyes snap open. Perfect timing. Leonhardt steps inside with news. My lord, your father has lifted the restriction. Kyle bolts upright, excitement lighting his face. What? Really? Yes, Leonhardt confirms. On the condition that I accompany you, you're now allowed to leave your room and walk freely in the garden. But beyond the mansion walls, you still cannot go. Kyle throws his arms into the air in celebration. Fine by me. He can hardly contain his joy. The garden, anytime he wants. That alone feels like freedom. Winning Leonhardt over had definitely been the right move. A system window suddenly appears. Leonhardt's affection, -20. Kyle blinks. Here? It was at -50 not long ago. How did he gain 30 points so fast? He thinks back. When Leonhardt had first shut him down, it was still at -50. Could it be that watching him meditate all night actually moved him? He remembers collapsing after those 6 hours of meditation, completely drained. Kyle frowns, thinking back. Wait, could it be that Leonhardt's the type who gets inspired just by watching effort, like some character out of a sports manga? A grin spreads across his face. Perfect timing, Leon Hart. There's somewhere I want you to take me. Where to, my lord? The knight asks. Kyle points forward dramatically, a mischievous spark in his eyes. You'll see when we get there. Under the bright sun, they arrive at a grand, towering building, sunlight pouring through its tall windows. The family library. Shelves upon shelves of books stretch from floor to ceiling, overflowing with knowledge. Behind the counter, a red-haired librarian in glasses looks up. Her eyes widen in shock. Lord Kyle? She gasps, rushing over in a panic. How did you get here? Before Kyle can answer, she turns to Leon Hart and grabs his arm. Leon Hart. What's going on? Wasn't Lord Kyle banned from entering the library? She whispers urgently. Leon Hart replies calmly. The master has lifted the restriction. The librarian goes pale. What? She trembles, vivid memories flooding back. She remembers the last time Kyle had entered this very library. That day, she had begged. Please, Lord Kyle, that's a rare book. Don't. But the boy had sneered, rage written across his face. A rare book I searched the Empire to find? Who cares? It's just paper. You can't read it when you're dead anyway. And with that, young Kyle had screamed and ripped the pages apart, ignoring her desperate pleas. Back in the present, Leon Hart looks at her. And after that, he was banned from the library, correct? The librarian's eyes brim with tears. Kyle, caught off guard, scratches his head. Wait, that really happened? The memory hits him all at once, the stubbornness of the boy whose body he now inhabits. He clears his throat awkwardly and quickly changes the subject. I came here to read. Don't we have books on magic? The librarian, ever professional despite her fear, straightens up. We have only a handful, she explains cautiously. Leon Hart adds. This family has always prioritized the sword. Our magic collection is limited. That's fine, Kyle says, crossing his arms. He points toward the shelves with authority. Bring me the one that explains how to form circles. Book in hand, Kyle sits down to read. But the text is impossibly dense. Mana is the force that created all things, a supernatural energy, defined by the scholar Joshua Allenrang, tied to his birth story. Kyle stares at the page, baffled. His patience snaps. He slams his hands on the desk. This is supposed to be for beginners? Why is it written like a philosophy thesis? Just get to the point already. Could a 7-year-old even understand this? Dropping his head onto the table, he groans. In a game, a skill just pops up once you meet the requirements. Do I really have to slog through this whole book? Just as despair starts to set in, a system window suddenly appears before his eyes. Spiritual vision, activated. Kyle lifts his head, startled. Over the page, a glowing blue overlay forms, lines of energy illuminating the text. Another message flashes. A new system message appears. Detected, low-level book. Translating text. Kyle blinks as the ancient, tangled script on the page begins to glow. The words shimmer, shift, and morph into simple, clean language he can instantly understand. Oh, he breathes, eyes widening. A loading bar flashes across the book. Translation complete. In front of him, a perfect holographic copy of the book materializes, fully translated. Kyle breaks into a wide smile. So, my vision skill can translate too. For a boy once doomed to die in obscurity, this is the ultimate cheat. The impossible, headache-inducing text of the magic book now shines crystal clear. The path to magic, completely open. A fire of determination flickers in his eyes. If he can just get his hands on the other books, he can decode them all in his own time. There's no reason to stay here any longer. Downstairs, Leon Hart keeps guard while the librarian, Illa, watches nervously. Suddenly, Kyle's cheerful voice echoes from the staircase. Illa, bring me the rest of the beginner magic books. He beams down at her with a playful, almost smug grin. I'll be borrowing all of them. The sheer boldness of his request leaves the poor librarian frozen in shock, unable to respond. The golden estate of the Celterian family glitters under the sun. Once a cage, It now feels like a place Kyle is beginning to break free from. Back in his room, Leonhardt sets down a towering stack of books with a heavy thud. This is the last of them. Kyle, practically glowing, is surrounded by mountains of knowledge. He pats Leonhardt on the arm approvingly. Good work. The knight, a man respected across the estate, can only stare in disbelief at the casual praise. Kyle, humming to himself, dives eagerly into his new collection. Leonhardt watches quietly at first, his expression conflicted. But then the concern finally spills out. My lord, are you certain this is wise? Kyle glances back, genuinely puzzled. Wise? What do you mean? Leonhardt explains, his voice even but firm. You borrowed nearly every rare book we have. The librarian is beside herself, worried you'll destroy them, like before. He narrows his eyes slightly, asking the deeper question. And more than that, why this sudden obsession with reading? You always hated books. Kyle runs his hand across the titles. Mana usage. Fundamentals of circle formation. These are the foundations of the power he craves. Leonhardt's expression hardens, prepared to give his young master a cold reality check. But before he can finish, Kyle looks up from the book, calm and steady. Because of my... Kyle closes the book slightly, his voice calm but direct. Because of my disease, my body's channels are blocked. Mana can't pass through me. Learning magic is supposed to be impossible. So, I shouldn't get my hopes up. He looks Leonhardt straight in the eye. That's what you were going to say, right? The knight stiffens, caught off guard by the boy's sharp self-awareness. Leonhardt lowers his head. Forgive me, my lord. I overstepped. But Kyle only gazes out the window, his tone steady. You're right, though. He admits what they both know, that everyone, Leonhardt included, thinks he's acting strangely. After all, he adds, tapping the cover of his book with a wry smile, I'm already known as this family's disowned delinquent. If I act a little stranger, who's going to be surprised? And really, reading a few books won't hurt anyone. He turns back, fixing Leonhardt with a serious look. I know what you're really worried about. You think I'll fail again. That if I do, I'll fall even deeper into despair. Leonhardt's breath catches. That was exactly his fear. But Kyle's expression hardens, his voice filled with an unshakable resolve. Like I said before, I don't intend to die young. Those words ignite something deep within Leonhardt. His hand tightens into a fist. This is not the fragile boy he once knew. A confident smile spreads across Kyle's face as he makes his vow, both to Leonhardt and to himself. So, I'll do everything I can. And just like that, the heavy mood vanishes. Kyle stretches out his arms, cheerfully snatches up another book, and declares, All right, time to lie down and read. He flops onto the bed with the careless energy of a child, already absorbed in his pages. Leonhardt is left standing there, utterly speechless, trying to reconcile the whirlwind he's just witnessed, maturity, determination, and childishness all tangled into one boy. As Kyle lounges peacefully, lost in study, Leonhardt's thoughts drift back. He remembers a very different Kyle Salterian. The faint sound of a child's sniffles echoes in his memory. A trembling boy, huddled on the cold stone floor, clutching a wooden practice sword. Leonhardt remembers kneeling beside him, voice soft. Lord Kyle, why are you crying? The boy's tear-streaked face looked up. Because father said something terrible to me. His small voice broke with grief. He said he doesn't need someone like me. A heart-wrenching cry of a child abandoned, crushed under the weight of his family's disappointment. Leonhardt remembered trying to comfort him back then, pity burning in his chest. That boy had been nothing but fragile, a broken child drowning in hopelessness. But now, the boy on the bed looks completely different. No longer broken. Focused. Determined. As Leonhardt watches, a faint flicker of light flashes before Kyle's eyes. Kyle blinks in shock as a system window suddenly pops up before him, one only he can see. Leonhardt's affection. The system window flashes. Leonhardt's affection, 0+? Kyle stares at it, dumbfounded. What? It was at 0 a moment ago. He racks his brain, baffled at what triggered the sudden increase. Meanwhile, Leonhardt sets a book gently on the bed. His face remains composed, but his voice is low. "I'll be waiting outside. Call if you need anything." Kyle can only let out a confused sound in response. For the briefest moment, Leonhardt's lips curve into a faint, almost imperceptible smile before he turns and walks out, posture straight and professional as ever. Something has definitely changed in the stoic knight. Kyle sits up, hand pressed to his chin, still puzzled. Was it because I was reading? But, if that was it, why didn't his affection change back in the library? He thinks hard, running through possibilities. Leonhardt's the kind of knight who values persistence. Maybe that's it. Maybe he liked seeing me push myself. Outside the room, Leonhardt leans casually against the wall. A small smile tugs at his lips. To him, devouring mountains of books at once is Kyle's own bizarre version of persistence. "What a strange boy," he murmurs. Back inside, Kyle sits cross-legged on the floor, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Surrounded by towers of rare books, he can barely contain his excitement. All right, time to really get started. A blue glow flickers across his eyes as a familiar system window appears. His cheat skill, Insight, activates. Instantly, data floods his vision. The skill doesn't just translate one book. It's decoding every book in the room simultaneously, dozens of times faster than normal reading. Complex passages are broken down, digitized, simplified, transformed into clear, easy-to-use data. A wave of light fills the room. All texts decoded. A new skill has been acquired. Kyle grins as a new icon flashes across his vision. The entire process took mere moments. Then, more notifications roll in. Data loaded. Principles of circle formation, understood. Minimum requirements for first circle, satisfied. His pulse quickens. The real test is about to begin. A golden glow ignites in his hands. If he can direct mana properly through his body, he can form his very first magic circle. Kyle closes his eyes. Let's do this. He wills the mana forward. A brilliant blue circle erupts around him, glowing with raw power. But the moment it begins, agony crashes through him. His chest seizes. Fire rages near his heart. A sharp cry escapes his lips as pain tears through his body. He knows if he falters, if he lets his focus slip for even a moment, the mana will backfire and rip him apart from the inside. Life or death. Nothing less. He grits his teeth, sweat beading on his brow. Just a little more. The circle flares brighter, power surging, pain intensifying until it feels unbearable. Kyle pushes harder, pouring every ounce of his will into the spell. His whisper is ragged, strained. Just a little more. The glowing circle expands, burning with light. The magic circle blazes one final time, then stabilizes, settling into a perfect, glowing ring of power. The chaotic energy fades, leaving behind a soft, steady light that fills the room. Kyle opens his eyes, chest heaving, hope flickering across his exhausted face. "Did I succeed?" he whispers. The system answers at once. First circle formed. Trait, blocked channels, weakening. More notifications roll in. He can now store refined mana within the circle. Kyle stares at the swirling energy in his hand. Relief crashes over him. Triumph swells in his chest. This is it, he breathes. Everything changes now. He shoots up from the floor, throwing his arms high into the air. I did it! Pure joy bursts out of him, before the cost hits. His vision spins. His body gives way. With a heavy thud, he collapses, completely drained. Sunlight streams through the window. Morning has already arrived. Kyle groans, realizing he pulled an all-nighter. As his consciousness fades, his final thought drifts hazily. Leonhardt and Ursule, they're definitely going to scold me for this. And then, darkness. The door creaks open. Ursule steps inside, carrying a breakfast tray. Lord Kyle, she calls softly, I've brought your... Her amber eyes widen in horror. The tray crashes to the floor with a clatter as she rushes forward. Lord Kyle, why are you on the floor? What is all this? She lifts his head gently, shaking him, worry etched in her voice. Around them, the scene tells its own story. Books scattered. A body completely spent. The faint trace of mana lingering in the air. In one night, Kyle had used every bit of strength he had to form his very first magic circle. From here, a new chapter begins. The story of Kyle Celterion, the mage, has officially started. Elsewhere in the mansion, the librarian Illa inspects the stack of returned books. Tears glimmer in her eyes as she flips through them, page by page. Not a scratch. Not a tear. Not a single mark. She lets out a massive sigh of relief. Leonhardt, standing beside her, simply nods. At least, for today, her worst fears weren't realized. Later, Kyle finally wakes to the sight of a steaming, carefully prepared breakfast. Ursule stands nearby, adjusting the garnish on a perfectly cooked steak, her expression calm and proud. It's done, she murmurs with quiet satisfaction. Kyle's voice breaks the silence, filled with genuine wonder. Wow, you made this. His face lights up with a bright smile. This is amazing. You're the best, Ursule. The praise is simple. Honest. Ursule's cheeks flush faintly pink. His words mean everything to her. She picks up the tray, heart light with pride, and turns to leave. But just outside the door, another maid stops her. Hey, Ursule, isn't that food meant for Lord Kyle? Ursule freezes, tray in hand, as another maid's voice cuts her off. Her face tightens. Trouble. Two maids step in, their smiles all sugar and venom. Why don't you rest, Ursule? We'll deliver the tray for you. On the surface, it sounds kind. But the undertone is a threat. What are you talking about? Ursule asks, her voice cool. One of the maids sneers. Don't play dumb. Serving Lord Kyle was Sally's job. You were only a stand-in. The others titter, whispering that since Lord Kyle has changed, everything should go back to normal. His service isn't punishment anymore, so Ursule doesn't belong. For a long moment, Ursule is silent. Then her amber eyes sharpen, cold and steady. I refuse. The words cut like a blade. The maids freeze, stunned. Her voice carries a strength she never showed before. If you've got a problem with my work, take it up with Lord Kyle directly. She drops his name like a shield. It works perfectly. The others fume. Look at her talk, they hiss. But Ursule turns her back on them, walking away without hesitation. Before she reaches the end of the hall, a shadow blocks her path. A taller maid with striking blue hair, their leader. Oh my, she says, voice dripping with mockery. So you've grown bold. Ursule lifts her chin, unflinching. The head maid smirks, looming over her. Do you really think you're special? The background noise of angry voices rises again, but Ursule doesn't falter. She keeps walking, ignoring them all. The head maid's smile fades into a scowl. Ursule, she snaps, her voice echoing through the empty corridor. But it's too late. Ursule is already gone, leaving the head maid seething in silence. Outside, the Celterion estate gleams under a clear blue sky, a serene facade that hides the storm brewing inside. Back in Kyle's room, peace reigns. He eats heartily, savoring every bite, while Ursule stands nearby, watching quietly. For her, the earlier clash in the hall is forgotten. Here, with him, everything feels simple. Her voice is soft, shy. Does the food suit your taste, my lord? I adapted a recipe you once taught me. Kyle beams. It's delicious. You're amazing, Ursule, the best. And your cooking keeps getting better every day. Her cheeks warm at the praise. I've been practicing, even learning new dishes from the head chef, she admits bashfully. Kyle nods, impressed. You really are diligent. But then his cheerful tone shifts, eyes narrowing with focus. All right. Time to get down to business. He leans forward. How's your progress with spirit magic? Ursule blinks, caught off guard. She stammers. Spirit magic? I've been so busy with my maid duties, Kyle interrupts, holding out his hand. Bring me the spirit magic primer I gave you. With the book in his hands, Kyle sat across from Ursule, who looked uneasy as he flipped through the book in front of him. "How far have you read?" he asked. Her reply came in a small voice. She was about halfway through. Kyle tapped the page thoughtfully. "Halfway, not bad." From the way the edges of the book were worn, he could tell she'd been putting in the effort. And as a former noble, her foundation was strong. Her pace of learning wasn't slow at all. In fact, for her age, she was gifted. Under normal circumstances, he would let her grow steadily, step by step. But time wasn't on their side. He snapped the book shut, making her flinch. "At this rate, it won't be enough," he said flatly. Ursula's eyes flickered with unease. She couldn't understand why he was pushing her so hard. Kyle's voice dropped, heavy with urgency. "We don't have time. Ursula, you need to learn faster. You need to get stronger." Then he laid it out, the truth he'd been holding back. "In 2 months," he said, "the Celterian family will hold the succession ceremony. On that day, everything falls apart." The memory of it hit him again. His brother Adolf, standing at the center of a coup, laughter twisted into something monstrous as he unleashed beasts into the chaos. Screams, blood, their family torn apart. And Ursula, caught in it, cut down without a chance. Kyle's jaw tightened. "You must become stronger before then." His tone left no room for argument. From now on, she was to put aside all distractions. No more kitchen duties. No more meals to prepare. "Focus on your training," he ordered. "Sally will handle my food from now on." He thought it was the right decision, the logical way to make her progress faster. But the moment the words left his mouth, Ursula's hands twisted around her apron, knuckles pale. "No!" she cried, voice breaking. Kyle froze. He hadn't expected that. Her body trembled as she clutched at her uniform, her words spilling out in panic. She begged him not to take it from her, not her duties, not her place by his side. Tears blurred her eyes as she pleaded, promising she would keep up with her studies and her cooking both. Anything, so long as she wasn't replaced. Her desperation left Kyle stunned, unable to answer. "Ursula," he muttered, at a loss. She wiped at her face, trying to hide the tears, though her shoulders still shook. And that was when it struck him, why she reacted this way. She wasn't just worried about cooking. She was terrified. Her noble family, gone overnight. From daughter of a house to a slave, and now a servant clinging to her place. She had nothing left. No certainty. No safety. She didn't even know if her family was still alive. The one piece of stability she'd found, serving him, was all she had. And he'd just told her to give it up. To her, it must have sounded like he was preparing to cast her aside. Kyle clenched his teeth, realization cutting deep. This wasn't her fault. It was his mistake. "Kyle," he called her name softly, his tone gentler now. He rose to his feet, looking down at her with steady resolve. "Ursula, remember what I told you the day I brought you here? You're my person now." Her head lifted, a tear sliding down her cheek. "I don't abandon my people," Kyle declared firmly. "I protect them, always." The weight of his words struck her like light piercing through the darkness. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Lord Kyle." He didn't stop. "Do you think I asked you to learn magic without reason? You're already an excellent maid, an incredible cook. If you keep going, you could easily become head maid one day." But then his voice sharpened. His gaze locked onto hers. "Still, there are plenty of maids in this mansion. Many could take your place." She flinched, her heart sinking, bracing for the worst. But instead of dismissal, his hand settled gently on her shoulder. He leaned closer, his blue eyes filled with conviction. "But what do you think will happen if you become a spirit mage?" Her breath caught, confusion flickering across her face. Kyle's words carried a vision. "Do you understand how rare, how revered, spirit mags are in this world?" An image formed in her mind, an elegant mage, graceful and commanding, standing tall above all. "If you walk this path, you'll become extraordinary. A person others admire. Someone no one could ever replace." His lips curved into a bright, encouraging smile. "Doesn't that sound amazing?" Ursula stared at him, overwhelmed, unable to speak. "Me? Could I really become that? She stammered. His answer came without hesitation. Of course. Kyle lifted the spirit magic book once again, holding it out to her with unwavering belief. You can become the greatest spirit mage. I believe in you. The strength in his voice washed over her, shattering the last of her doubts. Ursule reached out, taking the book with steady hands. Yes, she said firmly, her voice clear at last. I'll work hard. A radiant smile bloomed on her face, pure and unshaken. She hugged the book to her chest. Because I trust you, Lord Kyle. A notification flickered before Kyle's eyes. Her affection had shot up to 60. The sudden jump caught him off guard, but only for a moment. Then he smiled, proud and warm. He had just won the loyalty of his first and most vital ally. From that day forward, Ursule was officially appointed as his personal maid. A new uniform, adorned with a red bow, marked her status. She now handled his affairs, never leaving his side. To give her the space she deserved, Kyle arranged for her to move out of the crowded maid quarters. He opened the door to her new private room with a flourish. This will be your room from now on, he announced cheerfully. Ursule stepped inside, wide-eyed, barely managing a whisper. Wow! Kyle chuckled to himself, already thinking. Kyle reassured himself this was the right move, for her training and for his own safety. In her own room, Ursule wouldn't have to face the jealousy of the other maids. Everything about this plan felt perfect. But Ursule's delight came from something entirely different. Her thoughts were simple, almost glowing. It's so close to Lord Kyle's room. Kyle caught sight of her beaming face, her joy so pure it left him staring in disbelief. That's what you're happiest about, he deadpanned, before teasing, you really are a devoted one. Yes, she answered without hesitation, still smiling. Kyle exhaled, half amused, half exasperated. Looking out across the sprawling estate, he spoke with quiet determination. Ursule, let's work hard together. In her new room, Ursule stood by the window, her eyes burning with resolve. Kyle's words echoed in her heart, let's survive, no matter what. She clenched her hands, her determination unshakable. From her vantage, she spotted Kyle strolling through the garden with Leonhardt by his side, the picture of a young master and his knight. When Kyle glanced up, he lifted a hand and waved. Ursule let out a soft giggle, warmth flooding her chest. Another system prompt flickered unseen, affection plus 65. She whispered his name, her loyalty now unshaken, her faith absolute. But their happiness wasn't theirs alone. In the shadows of the mansion, someone watched. The blue-haired head maid, who had clashed with Ursule before, leaned close to whisper into the ear of a man lounging in a grand chair. Her voice was low as she reported on Kyle. The man listened, eyes glinting with amusement. He's changed, you say? She nodded. He trains his body daily. He studies magic. His temperament has shifted completely. He no longer lashes out at servants. A quiet chuckle rumbled from the man's chest. My foolish little brother, so you've finally grown up. His foot tapped against the floor, interest sparking. His smile widened, sharp and merciless. Well, things just became interesting. Perhaps it's time I paid him a visit. The name appeared, chilling and unmistakable, Adolf Selterian. The true villain had Kyle in his sights. Back in her room, Ursule waved brightly from the window, her faith in Kyle burning stronger than ever. In the garden below, Kyle and Leonhardt walked with new purpose, not master and bodyguard anymore, but allies bound by the same resolve. Take me to a wide, secluded place, Kyle instructed. Leonhardt raised a brow. What are you planning? Kyle's lips curved into a confident grin. An experiment. A magic experiment. The spark in his eyes was mischievous, alive with determination. He was ready to test the power he'd clawed his way toward. Leonhardt's frown deepened. Magic, from the boy who had always been told it was impossible. The idea was absurd. And yet, despite his doubts, he gave a curt nod. There's a hidden clearing deep in the estate. I'll take you there. Kyle's grin widened. Kyle brushed his hair back, excitement written in every movement. Perfect, he said, before giving Leonhardt one last command. Make sure no one comes near. The knight gave a sharp nod. Understood. Taking his position at the edge of the clearing, he stood watch, silent and vigilant. Left alone, Kyle drew in a steady breath and stretched his arms, centering himself. The grove was quiet, yet the air seemed alive, humming with tension. From a distance, Leonhardt's thoughts churned. Magic? He knew better than anyone. Lord Kyle had been born without the ability to use mana. Reading a book for a few days couldn't possibly change that. And yet, the Kyle standing before him now defied every expectation. Kyle raised his hand. Mana surged. Golden energy swirled into existence, sparking and crackling, until it coalesced into a brilliant vortex. The sheer pressure of it made the air quiver. Then he unleashed it. Magic missile. What roared forth was nothing close to basic. A colossal spear of radiant light burst from his palm, tearing through the air at terrifying speed. The impact was devastating. Boom! The missile struck an ancient tree dead center, obliterating it in a violent explosion. Bark and splinters rained down as the trunk groaned, then toppled with a deafening crash. The clearing shook, filled with ozone and smoke. Kyle staggered, his face frozen in disbelief. Even Leonhardt's iron composure shattered, his eyes wide. Damn, Kyle muttered, still trembling. Do you think the sound carried back to the mansion? Leonhardt quickly shook his head. No. I suppressed the blast with my aura. No one will notice, even the fall of the tree. Relief flooded Kyle's chest. Good work, he said, exhaling, though Leonhardt barely heard him. The knight's gaze was fixed on Kyle, utterly shaken. Finally, he spoke, voice taut with shock. Lord Kyle, when did you form a circle? Kyle shrugged as if it were nothing. Not too long ago. I just followed what the book said, and it worked. To prove it, he lifted his palm. A soft orb of blue mana shimmered above it, glowing pure and steady. His voice carried calm certainty, but the words landed like thunder. I've overcome my disease. Leonhardt stood frozen. There was no denying it. The boy who had always been branded talentless, incapable of magic, was standing here with power in his hand. His mind reeled, memories flashing of Kyle's bold vow, I don't plan to die young. His unshakable promise, I'll do everything I can. Leonhardt's lips curved slowly into a rare smile, filled with respect. So that's it. I understand now. He bowed, his voice steady, sincere. Congratulations. And then, only Kyle receives the notification. Leonhardt's affection has officially hit 10. Kyle lets out a small grin. As expected, Leonhardt values persistence and results above everything else. Now, Leonhardt examines the scene of destruction. He points out that a first circle magic missile should barely match the strength of a single punch. Yet the shattered tree before him tells a different story. This was on the level of a fourth circle spell. Kyle gives a sly wink. But I'm only a first circle mage. I just pulled off fourth circle power. Pretty amazing, right? Leonhardt is left speechless. The knight can't make sense of it. Even Kyle admits to himself, he hadn't anticipated this level of force. Leonhardt wonders aloud if Kyle might be some kind of prodigy. But Kyle knows the truth. It isn't talent. It's his insight skill. Without it, he would have taken months just to complete his first circle. But now a troubling thought lingers. Why is the magic of this world so different from the game he once played? According to the texts here, casting a spell means carefully drawing intricate circles and solving complicated equations just to trigger it. It's tedious, like something out of the old ages. In the game, however, magic was simple. You just traced a symbol with mana, and the spell activated instantly. And as a pro gamer, Kyle had memoized every single one. So he merged that method with the power of his new circle. The outcome was far too strong. Stronger than he intended. And that, he realizes, is dangerous. It's far too early to show his full strength. Turning to Leonhardt, Kyle asks him to keep this display a secret. Leonhardt narrows his eyes, asking if that even includes Kyle's father. That kind of secrecy borders on treason. Yeah, Kyle blurts enthusiastically, striking a playful pose with a finger over his lips. Let's just keep this between us. But his charm backfires immediately. A system window pops up, Leonhardt's affection drops back down to 5. Kyle freezes. Was my cuteness really that awful? Regaining composure, he grows serious. He tells Leonhardt there's a reason no one can know how strong he really is. Arms crossed, Leonhardt presses for an explanation. Kyle's expression hardens. He brings up the succession ceremony set for 2 months from now. Leonhardt's face turns grim, he knows exactly what that implies. Kyle explains the brutal tradition. The next successor isn't chosen by birth order, but through ruthless competition. Every candidate is tested in skill, knowledge, and influence. Only the strongest will claim the position. And right now, 2 factions are locked in a fierce battle for that title. The tension inside the mansion is already impossible to ignore. Nobles and knights quietly align themselves with one side or the other, preparing for the storm to come. The 2 main contenders are clear. The first is the eldest son, Abel Celterion, a man who embodies the ideal heir. Polished, refined, and a master swordsman, Abel has been raised from birth as the perfect successor. His greatest support comes from the long-standing retainers, the loyal old guard of the family. The second is the ambitious and dangerous younger son, Adolf Sultan. Overshadowed by Abel's brilliance for years, Adolf has only recently surged forward in skill, quickly closing the gap. His backers are the fiery, younger knights, radical and hungry for change. Kyle sums it up in his mind with brutal honesty. Adolf has the aura of a gang leader. The scene shifts to a long, quiet hallway. There, Adolf steps in front of his brother, blocking his path with a mocking smirk. Are you ignoring your younger brother, dear brother? His voice drips with condescension as the 2 factions behind them square off in silence. Abel turns with his usual composed demeanor. It's been a while, Adolf, he replies calmly. I was so deep in thought, I didn't even notice you. Adolf laughs sharply. What a pathetic excuse. Hard to believe the genius who manifested aura at 5 couldn't sense me standing here. His words are meant to sting. But Abel brushes the jab aside with disarming humility. It was nothing more than a childhood accident. Hardly worth mentioning. At that, one of Adolf's hot-blooded knights steps forward, smirking. If I recall correctly, Sir Adolf manifested aura at 15. Quite the difference, wouldn't you say? The implication is clear. Abel is a prodigy, while Adolf lagged behind. Before the tension can snap, one of Abel's elder retainers intervenes, trying to soothe things. He explains his own son awakened late as well, but grew rapidly afterward. Now that young Adolf has begun, he'll surely progress even faster, the old man adds. But the words only make things worse. To Adolf's knight, it sounds like condescension. Rage explodes from him as he clenches his fist. What did you say, old man? Do you have a death wish? Stop it! Adolf's shout cuts through the air. His hand rises, and his glowing red eyes pin the knight in place with a chilling glare. We're standing in the main house. Father is here. Don't you dare act recklessly. The knight falters instantly, bowing his head with a stammering apology. Abel watches silently, his expression unreadable. Then he offers his brother a polite yet barbed remark. You've trained your men well, Adolf. You truly have the qualities of an heir. Adolf grins, the smile of a predator who's already planning his next move. Their eyes meet, and for a moment the hallway itself seems to hold its breath. Laugh while you still can, Adolf sneers at last, before turning away with his men. Adolf's men follow him obediently down the hall. Once they are gone, Abel's mask of gentleness slips away. His golden eyes narrow, sharp and calculating. The lines have been drawn. Later, over a shared meal, Kyle lays everything out for his companions. The reality is grim. The succession ceremony is only 2 months away. In the Celterion family, there's only one rule when it comes to choosing the heir: strength. Birth order, legitimacy, none of it matters. If you're a direct descendant, you're eligible to fight for the title. Kyle stabs his steak with deliberate emphasis before continuing. But there's an exception. Me. Because of his illness, Kyle had been removed from the competition long ago. The battlefield now belongs solely to his two older brothers, Abel and Adolf. With so little time left before the ceremony, neither of them would welcome a new player suddenly rising in strength. So what would happen if Kyle's newfound power came to light? He ponders the possibilities, calculating the odds like the pro gamer he once was. A forgotten weakling turning into a dark horse, it leaves only two outcomes. Either they try to recruit him, or crush him before he became a real threat. Across the table, Ursule and Leonhardt sit in silence, the weight of his words sinking in. This is more than politics. This is a fight for survival. Leonhardt hesitates, then voices his concern. That's an extreme way of thinking. Kyle's reply is firm. No, this is reality. The Celterian succession has always been bloody. He analyzes his brothers with the knowledge he carries from the game. Abel, the eldest, is at his core a decent man. Kyle doubts he would ever raise a hand against him. But Adolf? Kyle knows without a doubt. His second brother is ruthless. In his mind, he sees the scene from the original story, Adolf standing tall over the bodies of their slaughtered kin. The thought chills him. His own position is fragile. His strength is growing, but not nearly enough. He needs a plan. And soon, he finds it. The image of a young, first-circle wizard, it's the perfect mask. Just enough to attract interest. Just enough to be seen as useful. But not threatening enough to provoke an all-out attack. It's the perfect bait. Kyle leans back, flashing a mischievous, scheming look. Leonhardt studies him for a long moment. This boy, only 13 years old, was coldly strategizing like a seasoned veteran. Finally, the knight nods, his expression grim. I understand. Wizards often hide their true abilities as a form of protection. Your plan makes sense. But he adds his own condition. For now, he'll keep Kyle's secret. After the ceremony, however, he will report everything to Kyle's father. Kyle sighs inwardly. With Leonhardt's affection still this low, this is the best outcome he can hope for. Leonhardt's loyalty lies with the Marquis, not with Kyle. Expecting unconditional support this early would be foolish. Still, Kyle can't help but think it's progress. At least Leonhardt didn't outright refuse him. Compared to before, the situation is already much better. A sly smile creeps across Kyle's lips. No matter how long it takes, he's certain of one thing: eventually, he'll make Leonhardt follow him wholeheartedly. His sharp gaze fixes on the knight, practically radiating determination. Leonhardt, I'll definitely win you over. The poor knight suddenly shivers, uneasy for reasons he can't explain. Glancing at Kyle, who is now feigning casual innocence, Leonhardt breaks the silence. So, you're serious about becoming a wizard? Hey! Kyle tilts his head. Then, smoothly, he lays out his cover story. The Celterian family is renowned for swordsmanship. Having a capable wizard among them would only strengthen the household. It's a perfect excuse, strong enough to justify his choice, but safe enough to hide his true motives. Leonhardt's lips curl into the faintest smile. That's good. The head of the family will be pleased to hear it. A familiar chime rings in Kyle's ears. A system window flashes. Leonhardt's affection has jumped to 30. Kyle nearly falls out of his chair. Again? Where did that even come from? His eyes drift to Ursule, and suddenly, it clicks. Maybe eating together boosts affection. Without missing a beat, he seizes the chance. Leonhardt, Ursule, let's eat together in my room from now on. Got it. Leonhardt gives him a flat look, unimpressed. You could just eat at the knight's dormitory. Kyle doesn't back down. It's an order, he declares, pulling rank. Leonhardt breaks into a sweat, clearly uncomfortable. Ursule, however, simply nods with a quiet smile. That night, under the glow of a full moon, the Celterian estate lies silent, bathed in silver light. Inside his room, though, Kyle sits at his desk, lost in thought as he studies. In his hand is a sheet of paper, marked with a simple, game-style magic symbol. He knows what this means. Using the game's method results in spells that activate instantly, with devastating power. But the trade-off is brutal. The strength is unstable, nearly impossible to control. And he still doesn't understand why it's so much stronger here than in the game. The risk is too great. With a groan, Kyle buries his face in a pillow. Frustration boils over as he tosses the paper aside. Forget it. I'll seal this method for now. But he can't sit still for long. Surrounded by piles of books, his mind races. The magic of this world offers precision and control, but at the cost of painfully slow casting. The game's magic, meanwhile, is fast and powerful, but wild. Then it hits him. What if he combined them? The control of this world's magic, fused with the speed and force of the game system. The thought barely finishes forming when a crimson warning suddenly flashes before his eyes. A crimson window suddenly flashes before Kyle's eyes. Danger! A magic explosion could occur. Do you want to continue? The urgent warning nearly makes him jump out of his chair. What the? You scared me, he yells at the empty air. Brushing himself off, he freezes mid-step. His eyes drift back to the glowing message. Continue. His breath catches. If there's a continue option, then it isn't impossible. Dropping to the floor, he stares at the warning intently. This isn't just a status update, it's a genuine risk alert. But instead of deterring him, it only sharpens his resolve. Every gamer knows the rule: high risk, high reward. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Without hesitation, Kyle's finger presses yes. A violent surge of magical energy floods his body. The red window blares again, brighter and louder, urging him to stop. But Kyle only grins, the fearless grin of a pro gamer who thrives in chaos. Of course. Execute. The system obeys. A torrent of data streams through him at lightning speed. Analyzing body. Analyzing activation method. Knowledge of magic missile, extremely high. His insight skill kicks into overdrive, dissecting every element of his body, his mana, and the two different systems of magic. The process converges in an instant, finding the most efficient path. Kyle's eyes blaze with brilliant blue light. Mana whirls in his palm, condensing into a perfect sphere. Within it, runes spin and intertwine, forming something brand new. I did it, he whispers, awestruck. Before him hovers a flawless fusion, two worlds of magic combined into one. A stable golden circle glimmers, engraved with the simple yet potent symbols of the game. This is no ordinary spell. This is his creation. The combined activation method, Magic Missile. Excitement surges through him as he raises his hand, the sphere pulsing with controlled power. A faint lightning bolt mark flickers across his forehead. Awesome! But Kyle isn't satisfied. Now that the foundation exists, he tries to fine-tune it, adjusting the formula, reducing the output, making it more efficient. The system blares red again. Danger! Oops, that's not it. Before he can react, the sphere detonates. A massive explosion rips through the room with a deafening boom. Just outside, Ursula is thrown to the ground by the shockwave. Lord Kyle, she cries, rushing inside. She finds him slumped, covered head to toe in soot, his hair sticking up in every direction. I'm fine, Kyle croaks weakly. One glance around says otherwise. A huge section of his bedroom wall is missing, reduced to rubble. I was just practicing magic, he says with a sheepish laugh. Ursula runs to his side, frantic. Are you hurt? What about the wall? Kyle scratches his head, embarrassed. Yeah, maybe I should have tried this outside. So this was what the warning meant by might explode. He makes a mental note. Next time, he'll need a proper magic workshop, with plenty of protective barriers. The door slams open. Leonhardt bursts in, drawn by the blast. Leonhardt bursts into Kyle's room, his eyes widening at the devastation. His gaze locks on the gaping hole in the wall. The wall, he shouts in disbelief. Kyle can only give him a sheepish grin. Yeah, could you help me clean this up? Leonhardt stares, stunned into silence, but eventually sighs and nods. They all know this has to be fixed quickly. If the librarian finds out about the destroyed books, chaos will erupt. A chibi-styled system face pops up, screaming Kyle's name in exaggerated despair. His once quiet life is officially over. Morning comes to the Celterian estate. In the quiet kitchens, Ursule is already hard at work preparing Kyle's meal. She leans over the pot, tasting the stew. A faint frown crosses her face. Something's off. The flavor feels plain. She imagines Kyle's reaction, his usual polite but pointed critique. Panic stirs in her chest. No, it has to be perfect. She paces in place, racking her brain for a solution. "Ah, Ursule," a gentle voice calls out. She turns to see a young maid with striking blue hair walking toward her, smiling warmly. "I see you're preparing Lord Kyle's meal. You really are diligent," the girl says kindly. Ursule stiffens, still on edge after her last encounter with another maid. The girl introduces herself as Daisy. Her smile seems genuine, but Ursule remains cautious, answering curtly, "It's just my job." Unbothered, Daisy peers into the pot, then leans closer. "If the seasoning feels off, try adding a dash of nutmeg." Ursule blinks, her ears twitching slightly. "Nutmeg?" Daisy explains with quiet confidence, "It's a spice that enhances depth, bringing out a rich flavor." She encourages Ursule to give it a try. Hesitant, Ursule finally nods. Together, they sprinkle in a small amount. Daisy steps back with a proud little smile. Ursule takes another taste, her eyes widen in surprise. The stew is transformed. Delicious, full of warmth and richness. She turns to Daisy, genuinely impressed. "You're good at cooking. Could you teach me a little?" For a moment, Daisy looks surprised. Then her smile softens into something warm and sincere. "Of course. I'd be happy to help." The stew finished, Daisy offers to carry the food. Ursule quietly thanks her, and together they push a cart down the grand hallway. As they walk, Daisy makes casual conversation. "How has Lord Kyle been lately? I've heard he's become much more polite." Ursule glances at her, guarded but calm. Daisy admits that at first, she worried about Ursule becoming Kyle's exclusive maid, afraid he might treat her harshly like before. Ursule looks away, answering simply, "It's all right. Lord Kyle treats me well." But then Daisy's questions begin to shift. Daisy's tone shifts slightly, her questions becoming more pointed. She says she's heard that Kyle has grown more dignified, that he's been exercising, even studying diligently. Ursule keeps her face neutral, but the faint blush on her cheeks and the small, proud curve of her lips betray her true feelings. At last, she answers softly, "Yes. Lord Kyle is very diligent." Her voice carries a quiet pride that cannot be hidden. Later, Ursule relays the encounter to Kyle. He looks up from his book, intrigued. "Daisy asked about me?" "Yes," Ursule replies. "She wanted to know what you've been doing, and who you've been meeting." Kyle's expression sharpens instantly. "So? What did you tell her?" A sly gleam flashes in Ursule's eyes. "I said, I don't know." She explains that it didn't feel right to share anything about him. For a moment, Kyle studies her in silence. Then his grim look softens into a wide, approving smile. He raises a thumb. "That was perfect, Ursule. You did great." Genuine pride shines in his eyes. But soon, his strategist's mind kicks in. "Still, from now on, you can answer moderately. We can't hide everything forever. Eventually, people will find out I've beaten my illness and started learning magic." "I understand," Ursule nods. "I'll keep that in mind." She wheels the cart away quietly, leaving Kyle to his thoughts. Leaning back in his chair, Kyle's expression grows calculating. He had expected Adolf, the impatient one, to act first. Sending Daisy as a spy only proves it. A smirk plays at his lips. "As expected of my second brother, no patience at all." The image of Daisy's smiling face flickers in his mind, only to be swallowed by the dark silhouette of Adolf. His already probing, already testing for weaknesses. The game of shadows has begun. Meanwhile, in another part of the mansion, a furious voice erupts. "Is that really true?" Marquis Rempton Celterion, Kyle's father, slams his desk with both hands, his face etched with shock. "Kyle overcame Hermione." Leonhardt stands tall before him, calm and steady. "Yes. He's currently studying magic on his own." He recalls Kyle's words and adds, He has already reached the first circle. Though, there's more I'll explain later. The Marquis falls silent, struggling to process the revelation. That child overcame Hermu? The words trigger a memory he had long tried to bury. He sees a younger Kyle, spirit shattered, screaming at him in anguish. Did I ask to be born with this body? You should have killed me the moment I was born. The memory cuts like a knife. He remembers clenching his fist, his own rage spilling out as he shouted back, "You wretched fool. I'll pretend I don't have a son like you. Stay locked in your room. Don't cause me any more shame." And then, Kyle's face. The look of pure despair. That broken cry still echoes in his mind, tearing open an old wound he thought long scarred. The Marquis closes his eyes, pressing his temples, his chest heavy with guilt he refuses to name. The Marquis sits in silence, haunted by his own past actions. His voice is low when he asks, "How old is he now?" 13, Leonhardt replies. The Marquis's expression hardens. 13. All those years he's lost with his son weigh heavily on him. He mutters to himself, to overcome Hermu, one needs extraordinary talent. Either in magic or in swordsmanship. That kind of talent appears at 5, maybe 6 at the latest. His eyes flicker with doubt and fragile hope. Are there any cases of someone overcoming it at the late age of 13? Leonhardt hesitates, then shakes his head. I'm not certain. It's unheard of. But, his voice firms with conviction. It's true. Lord Kyle has overcome Hermu. I witnessed it myself. He cast first circle magic with my own eyes. The Marquis goes still, struggling to process what he's hearing. Could this truly be a miracle? At last, he asks softly, Leonhardt, do you think I should meet him? The knight narrows his eyes, reading the hesitation in his master's voice. Do you not want to meet him? The Marquis looks away, his face lined with pain. I don't know. That child, he must still resent me, doesn't he? Leonhardt is taken aback. The thought had never even crossed his mind. But he answers immediately, his tone certain. No. On the contrary, he said he has something he wants to speak to you about. In his mind, he recalls the scene clearly, Kyle sitting in the garden, bright and lively, nothing like the boy broken by despair. When Leonhardt had offered to deliver a message, Kyle had shaken his head. No. I need to meet him in person. Leonhardt had reminded him gently that he was still under house arrest. Kyle slammed his hands against the railing. I know. That's why I'm telling you. Leonhardt, tell my father that I really, really, really want to see him. Got it? And then, without warning, Kyle had clasped his hands together, his eyes wide and glistening, pleading with a look so unbearably cute it had completely shattered Leonhardt's composure. Please. Leonhardt remembers with a groan how his resolve crumbled instantly. Against all reason, he had agreed. Back in the present, Leonhardt is certain, Kyle holds no resentment toward his father. If anything, he's eager to face him. The Marquis suddenly shoots to his feet, his composure breaking into a comical look of desperation. What did Kyle say about me? Leonhardt clears his throat awkwardly, embarrassed by his master's outburst. The scene shifts. Sunlight streams through the tall windows of a grand corridor, where the steady sound of footsteps echoes. A boy strides forward in fine formal wear, his expression resolute yet hopeful. Lord Kyle Celterion is on his way to meet the Marquis himself. The prodigal son is ready to return. Because you can't win over a man who once dismissed you as a failure simply by begging for affection. You must prove yourself as an asset, not a burden. And for Kyle, that means facing the one person who terrifies him most. And the one he must face is none other than his father, Reborn Celterion. On the wall looms a grand portrait, an austere man carved from steel and duty. The current head of House Celterion. 4 generations, their family has been the Empire's shield, their legendary swordsmanship holding back countless waves of monsters. But Reborn is more than just the Marquis. He is one of only 5 sword masters on the entire continent. A living legend whose name has been etched into history across battlefields drenched in blood. And this is the man Kyle is about to stand before. For the first time in years, Kyle wears fine clothes, walking steadily through the grand halls. His small frame carries a weight far larger than himself. This meeting will shape his entire future. He pauses before the portrait, staring up at that imposing painted figure. But then, his hand trembles. Kyle looks down, startled to see it shaking. A crack in his resolve. He clenches his fist, but the tremor doesn't stop. This isn't fear born from his own will. It's something deeper, a phantom pain. A trauma embedded in this body. The raw terror the original Kyle once felt toward the man who should have been his protector. A memory crashes over him like a wave. The training grounds. His father's voice, cold and sharp as a blade. How can a son of Celterion not even hold a sword? A small boy kneels in the dirt, arms burning, unable to lift the weapon. I can't. It's too hard. His voice is broken, pleading. His father's gaze twists into disgust. Useless to the family. The word pierces deeper than any strike. The child's eyes widen, tears streaking his cheeks as his mind spirals. Am I really useless? Destined to die without worth? He cries out desperately, begging not to be abandoned. But the memory ends with only a silent back turned coldly against him. Back in the present, Kyle exhales slowly, the heaviness of that memory pressing down on him. That pain, that despair, it's his now too, ever since his soul merged with the original Kyle. The trauma is his burden. But he is not the same boy. He lifts his gaze back to the portrait, his fist steady now. The fear lingers, but alongside it burns a new fire. He is no longer a coward. He is Kyle Celterion, and he is 00. Both at once. And he will not be ruled by a child's broken past. He will face his father, not as a son begging for recognition, but as an equal proving his worth. A confident smile curves his lips. He's ready. With a deep rumble, the massive doors swing open. Inside, Marquis Rempton Celterion sits waiting. Behind the massive desk, Marquis Rempton Celterion sits with a gaze as cold and unyielding as stone. Kyle steps into the room, a polite smile fixed firmly on his face. Gone is the trembling child from his memories. Before his father now stands someone different. The silence stretches until the Marquis finally speaks, his calm voice cutting like a blade. What do you want? Kyle doesn't flinch. He bows his head slightly, replying with measured formality. Yes, Marquis. His father's eyes narrow, ever so slightly. This sudden composure, this change in tone, it's unusual. He wonders what scheme his son is hiding. His finger taps against the desk, sharp and impatient. You were forbidden to leave your room without permission. His voice drops lower, laced with threat. If you dare cause more trouble, this time, it won't end with simple confinement. He leans forward, his piercing gaze a silent challenge. Do you understand what that means? For a brief second, Kyle feels the tremor return. His father's presence is crushing, the same overwhelming force that once broke him. This is no ordinary man. This is a swordmaster, one of the 5 strongest warriors alive. There is no trust here, only a long history of disappointment. Kyle instinctively tries to activate his insight skill, hoping to analyze the situation. But the system sputters and fails, the gap between them is far too great. He can't even gauge his father's favorability. There's no easy way out. Only one path remains, negotiation. Drawing a slow, quiet breath, Kyle steadies himself. I understand, he replies evenly. Then he adds, that's why I followed the rules. I requested this meeting properly, through Sir Leon Hart. The Marquis blinks, visibly taken aback. In the past, such a threat would have sent Kyle into a tantrum, whining or lashing out. But now, has this child really grown up? Kyle confirms it with his next words. Yes, I have. And then, he does the one thing his father never expected. He bows deeply, his voice steady and sincere. My past childishness caused you much trouble. It was my fault. I regret it deeply. And I will change. The Marquis's eyes widen in shock. He is speechless. This boy, who once blamed everyone else for his misfortune, apologizing of his own will? Impossible. Before he can even process it, Kyle straightens again, his expression unwavering. And one more thing, Marquis. I wish to make a deal with you. The Marquis echoes, stunned. A deal? Kyle reminds him, you've already heard the news. That I've overcome my illness. The Marquis admits quietly, I heard. But, it was hard to believe. Kyle meets his gaze, calm and certain. It's true. And in the next heartbeat, a surge of power explodes from him. Mana floods the room, swirling violently, crackling with raw force. In his palm, a radiant orb of multicolored light blazes to life. Kyle lifts his hand, the magic burning between his fingers, and looks straight into his father's stunned eyes. Kyle locks eyes with his father and declares firmly, Marquis, I am now a first circle mage. The surge of his mana fills the room, scattering papers, rattling shelves, and making the very air vibrate with raw power. The Marquis sits frozen. Even after Leonhardt's report, some part of him had clung to doubt. But now, seeing it with his own eyes, feeling the mana pouring from his own son, denial is no longer possible. It's true, he mutters, disbelief thick in his voice. Kyle nods, unwavering. And I will only continue to grow stronger. He begins his pitch. He explains that mags who overcome Hermu are renowned for their exceptional potential. That same potential is how he mastered the first circle in only a few days of self-study. Then he lays out his terms. A great mage is worth an entire order of knights. Our family is known for its swords, but imagine the power we would wield with an archmage in our bloodline. His words grow sharper, his stance firm. If the family supports me, if it invests in my growth, I will dedicate myself completely to House Celterion. I will become a weapon, an asset more valuable than any army. With both our swordsmanship and my magic, the Celterion name will rise above all others. As he speaks, it's as if the family's shining sword, their eternal symbol, glows faintly behind him. He extends his hand, mana crackling with determination. What do you think, Marquis? This deal benefits us both. His voice carries the weight of someone who knows exactly what he's doing. So please, invest in me. Invest in a true talent. This is no child begging for affection. No tantrum for attention. Kyle knows respect is not granted, it is earned by proving your worth. And he understands one truth above all else, his father, Reborn Celterion, values the family's honor and power above everything. The old Kyle had failed to gain his notice through pitiful cries. But this Kyle knows that even the most broken bond can be mended if there's power and mutual interest on the table. A confident smirk touches his lips. This is how adults handle business. The Marquis says nothing. His face is unreadable, shadowed by the dying light of the sunset pouring through the windows. His mind spins. This child, is this truly Kyle? The weak, petulant boy I cast aside? He's gone. In his place stands someone calm. Strategic. Powerful. He doesn't recognize the son before him. Kyle presses his advantage, his voice carrying through the silence with sharp conviction. So, Marquis. Invest in me, a capable talent. His clenched fist glows with mana, energy still swirling, proof of his newfound strength. This is no longer a plea. It's a declaration. A statement of fact. And Reborn Celterion can only stare at his son, confronted with the undeniable. Power radiates from Kyle, and the Marquis finds himself utterly at a loss for words. His thoughts churn. He cannot reconcile the boy before him, the confident, calculating young man, with the weak, crying child burned into his memory. Is this really the same Kyle? Then, slowly, he begins to see. This is not a tantrum. This is negotiation. His son is analyzing. His opponent, his own father, and striking from a position of strength. The Marquis recognizes it instantly. This ability, to wield power and authority to achieve one's goals, is essential for any noble. To think that the child he once dismissed as worthless had now matured into someone capable of this level of strategy. Finally, he makes his decision. The boy he neglected for years has grown into someone far beyond what he imagined. Very well, the Marquis says, his voice firm, resolute. I will acknowledge you as an asset. From this day, you will be provided with all the funds and materials you require for your studies. But then he leans forward, his gaze sharp as a blade. The deal is struck, but on one condition. Show me your worth. A triumphant smile spreads across Kyle's face. The first and most difficult step is complete. Yes, he answers, brimming with confidence. I will live up to your expectations. Days later, Leonhardt and Ursule stand frozen in awe inside a vast, luxurious chamber. Their jaws nearly hit the floor as they take in their surroundings. Kyle sweeps his arms wide with dramatic flair. My new magic workshop, he announces proudly. The room is enormous, lined with shelves of glittering tools, state-of-the-art instruments, and reinforced walls glowing with barrier enchantments. On one side, alchemical tables and cauldrons gleam, ready for potion making and artifact crafting. It's not a simple room, it's a mage's paradise. Kyle gestures to the glowing sconces. All reinforced with barrier magic. So don't worry, no more surprise holes in the walls. He laughs, clearly enjoying himself. Behind him, Ursule and Leonhardt remain stunned, their mouths hanging open. Leonhardt finally manages to speak. This is incredible. It must have cost a fortune. Kyle puffs out his chest proudly, grinning ear to ear. Of course it did. And it's all father's money. The knight and the maid exchange a look of disbelief. The stone-faced Marquis, moved by charm? It seems impossible. Yet here was the proof. Then Kyle turns to his maid. Ursule, come here. She steps forward cautiously. Do you need something, my lord? No, Kyle replies warmly. He opens the door to an adjoining chamber. Inside is a smaller, pristine space, soundproofed, dustproofed, with shelves of books on spirit magic and a neat pile of spirit stones stacked and ready. I had this room made just for you, Kyle explains with a gentle smile. Since it's hard for you to practice spirit magic anywhere else, I wanted you to have your own space. Ursule stops in her tracks, overcome. She can barely say his name, her voice trembling with disbelief. Could she really be allowed to use a place like this? Hands clasped tightly, she stares around in shock. Kyle only gives her a calm smile. Of course. Use it as much as you want. But then his tone shifts. His smile fades, replaced by something firm and resolute. He tells her once again, he doesn't just want a maid. He wants her as his trusted aide. His irreplaceable spirit mage. For a girl who has only ever been tossed aside, his words fall like a lifeline. She turns away, trying to hide it, but tears blur her vision. Pressing her hands to her chest, she makes a vow. Kyle, I'll work hard. I'll study, and I'll become someone truly worthy of standing by your side. Her voice may be unsteady, but her determination shines through. And just then, a glowing notification flickers before Kyle's eyes. Her favorability has soared to 70. He watches her with quiet satisfaction. His gamble was already proving worthwhile. Lee Hyun Warseal lifts her head, resolve burning stronger than ever. But before the moment can settle, the pile of spirit stones on the table bursts into light. A dazzling green magic circle spreads beneath her feet, and a violent wind whirls around them, throwing the room into chaos. Kyle shouts over the roar. Why is the spirit circle activating all of a sudden? Eril, did you use magic? She shakes her head frantically, just as lost as he is. And then, blinding light. A tiny, winged creature bursts forth, letting out cheerful chirps as it flutters in the air. Kyle's eyes widen. A spirit. A genuine spirit summoning. The little creature squeaks with delight, darting straight to Lee Hyun Warseal and nestling against her cheek. Kyle can hardly believe it. The spirit chose her immediately. The legendary gift, eternal friend of spirits, was real. Incredible, Lee Hyun Woo Urseal. You've already summoned a spirit, he exclaims, his shock giving way to excitement. But she shakes her head, insisting she didn't do anything. Kyle explains, it isn't like ordinary magic. Spirit summoning is about resonance. About one's soul harmonizing with the energy of nature. Her emotions had surged, and the spirit stones had responded to her heart. That was the trigger. Lee Hyun Woo Urseal looks at the tiny creature perched on her hand, still struggling to process it. But then her eyes fall on the table, and her stomach drops. The once radiant spirit stones are now dull and lifeless. She panics, guilt written in her voice. She's used them all up. Kyle waves it off with ease. Don't worry. That's exactly what they were for. Though deep inside, he admits he never imagined she'd summon one this quickly. Then another thought strikes him. What kind of spirit had she just brought into the world? Kyle tries using his insight skill on the little spirit, but the system flashes back an error. All it can tell him is that the creature ranks extremely high, so high, in fact, that his ability becomes completely useless. Turning to Lee Hyun Warseal, he asks if she knows what kind of spirit it is. Snapping out of her daze, she nods quickly. Yes. I'll ask. Cradling the tiny creature in her hands, she falls silent, almost as if speaking without words. Moments later, awe spreads across her face. She looks back at Kyle, her voice trembling. Ashiris, an ancient spirit of light. Kyle and Leonard shout in perfect unison, what? That pudgy little creature, an ancient spirit? As if offended by their disbelief, the spirit puffs up its cheeks with irritation. Kyle's mind reels. Ancient spirits are unimaginably rare, even master mags often fail to call one forth. And Lee Hyun Warseal? She'd done it without even trying. The spirit darts forward, smacking both men as if to scold them. Lee Hyun Warseal gently explains, it says this isn't its true form. If it were to reveal its real body, the entire mansion would be obliterated. Kyle can only mutter weakly, I see. The spirit then floats right up to him and taps him on the head. As Kyle rubs the spot, realization dawns. It wants to become your friend, he says slowly. That's when it clicks. The spirit isn't just asking for friendship, it's asking for a contract. Because it had chosen Lee Hyun Warseal as its summoner, their compatibility was undeniable. Her eyes widen. A contract? She looks at the spirit with barely contained hope. Really? You'd accept me? The spirit squeaks eagerly in response. Golden light bursts forth, wrapping Lee Hyun Warseal in a warm glow as the spirit hovers above her. With newfound strength in her voice, she declares, I, Lee Hyun Warseal Helim, hereby form a true contract with Ashiris, the ancient spirit of light. A brilliant flash seals the bond. A system window materializes in front of Kyle, processing the contract. The words appear like in a game, record you as my summoner. Seeing the prompt, Kyle's inner gamer takes over. He shouts, set my name. ID, Padaki. The system begins confirming. Your name is Padaki. ID Padaki. Registration complete. Kyle claps a hand over his mouth, struggling not to laugh. It actually worked. Lee Hyun Warseal, however, is completely serious. She smiles warmly at her new companion. From today onward, you are Padaki. Let's work together, and thank you for being my friend. The spirit, now Padaki, chirps happily, nestling close to her. Kyle watches the touching scene with quiet pride. His gamble was paying off perfectly. Step by step, his team was coming together. Days slip by peacefully at the Celtarian estate. One afternoon, Kyle is savoring a quiet cup of tea when a smooth voice suddenly breaks the calm. I'm sorry I haven't visited you sooner, Kyle. Kyle looks up from his tea to see his older brother, Adolf, approaching with a pleasant smile. It's nothing, Kyle answers politely. But Adolf doesn't stop there. He goes on about how he should have come earlier, and that's when his lips twist into a cruel, predatory grin. Kyle keeps his own smile steady, but his thoughts sharpen like a blade. The main villain has finally stepped onto the stage. Adolf, his own brother. In the Game of Thrones, the most dangerous enemy is often the one who calls you family. Adolf sits, pouring the tea with smooth precision. His face is calm, but his piercing gaze misses nothing. The room fills with silent tension, the first round of a subtle battle already underway. Lee Hyun Warseal quietly steps in to ask if they need anything else. Kyle's voice is gentle but firm. You've worked hard, Ariel. Go and rest. Yes, Lord Kyle, she replies, bowing before slipping away. Adolf watches her leave, his silence heavy, his smile sly. That girl, isn't she the one you bought from the slave market? He leans back, casual, but every word drips with poison. She's rather pretty. I just happen to be in need of a new maid. Why not send her to me? Kyle takes a slow sip of tea, his expression calm. But inside, his blood seethes. Scum. He can't believe it. The moment Adolf hears of his recovery from illness, the first thing he does is try to steal his personal maid. It isn't a request, it's a test. Kyle doesn't let his rage show. Instead, he slips on a mask of worry. Oh no, brother Adolf, anyone but her. Please, can't it be someone else? He clenches his fists under the table, playing the role of an anxious boy, too attached to his servant. Adolf studies him, sharp eyes narrowing. And then, he bursts out laughing, slapping his knee. I'm only joking. Do you think I'd really steal a girl you're so fond of? He leans in, flashing a wide grin. Just teasing. Kyle exhales loudly, playing along. Don't tease me like that, brother. You scared me. Adolf chuckles dismissively, but behind his smile, the calculations continue. For now, he'll let the maid stay. He can't afford to provoke Kyle directly. Still, how amusing. The once hopeless boy now clinging to a maid like a weakness, such a brother would be pathetically easy to control. Almost regretfully, Adolf thinks he should have taken the chance to reel Kyle in sooner. Changing the subject, Adolf comments on Kyle's recovery. Kyle carefully chooses his response. I'm better, he admits, then deliberately adds a lie. But, my illness isn't completely healed. It's just slowly improving. Adolf's eyes flash instantly, latching onto those words. Not fully healed? He presses. Kyle lowers his gaze, acting shy. He explains softly that long illnesses can't be cured overnight. To sell the image of a proud but naive boy, he leans forward eagerly. Here, look at this, brother Adolf. He conjures a small flame in his palm, grinning brightly. This is a spell I created myself. It's about 1.5 times stronger than ordinary magic. What do you think? Adolf studies him with a faint, patronizing smile, then pats his hand like an indulgent parent. Creating your own magic, impressive. Kyle beams in gratitude, the perfect picture of innocence. And it works flawlessly. By showing his magic is still at a beginner's level and pretending his illness lingers, he ensures Adolf won't see him as a contender for succession. From the shadows, Adolf's spy observes, frowning. Something about Kyle is different, sharper, stronger than expected. Her earlier reports may have exaggerated his condition, but even so, Adolf doesn't care. To him, Kyle is just a 13-year-old boy. Nothing more than a puppet to manipulate. When the time comes, discarding him will be simple. With his judgment made, Adolf leans forward again, that friendly mask sliding back into place. Kyle, let me ask you directly. Do you intend to stand on my side? The question finally lands. Kyle feigns shock, blinking innocently. Here? Join brother Adolf's side? Adolf's sharp gaze pierces into him, searching for any sign of hesitation. The silence drags, tension coiled tight. But then, Kyle hides a sly, victorious smile. Got him. He's maneuvered Adolf into making the first move. He straightens, enthusiasm sparkling in his voice. Yes, brother. Thank you for trusting me. I'll join the monster subjugation mission and prove my loyalty. Adolf rises from his seat, satisfied. In his mind, his younger brother is already dancing on his strings. As he opens the door, Leonhardt stands waiting, bowing low. Have a safe journey, Lord Adolf. Adolf pauses, his eyes narrowing. Ah, Leonhardt. So you're still here. He scans the knight with open disdain. A tough nut, aren't you? You should have joined our other brother. Better than rotting away guarding this child. He leans in close, sneering. You look pathetic, Leonhardt. With one last mocking laugh, Adolf strides off down the hall. Leonhardt doesn't flinch. He stands stoically until Adolf is gone, his expression grim. Then he turns back into Kyle's chamber. Kyle greets him calmly, sipping his tea. Ah, Leonhardt, come in. The discussion's finished. A faint smile plays at his lips. Brother Adolf has given me a mission. Kyle explains the details calmly. He'll be placed under Viscount Jerome, one of Adolf's men. A clear test of loyalty, yet also a chance to earn real recognition. Leonhardt's face tightens immediately. If you're going, then I'll accompany you, he declares without hesitation. But Kyle shakes his head firmly. No, Leonhardt. You can't. Leonhardt blinks in surprise. If you come, Adolf will be cautious. I need his trust, and I can't earn it with father's night watching my back. Leonhardt frowns. It's too dangerous. This is a trap. Kyle nods slightly. Of course it's a trap. Adolf will test my worth in real combat, maybe.